What's up, everyone? Today we have a very special episode of Funny Knowing You. And I promise you, you do not want to miss a second of this. Dion Cole sits down with the legendary D.L. Hughley, one of the biggest names in comedy, and they get into stories from D.L.'s childhood, family, and early career that you've probably never heard before. Make sure you stay till the end because the surprises keep coming, and some of these stories are absolutely priceless. DL has been in the game for decades, and every time he steps on stage, he brings that energy and insight that makes you laugh and think at the same time. Dion talks about how he's worked with DL several times and how every performance leaves him in awe. And right from the start, you can feel that respect and admiration. They start by talking about DL's early life in Los Angeles and how his parents met. DL shares a wild story about how his biological father introduced his best friend, who became DL's stepfather, to his mother, and that stepfather fell in love with her. DL explains how complicated it all was, but it's funny now looking back. You'll want to watch closely because DL doesn't just share stories. He tells them in a way that makes you feel like you're right there with him. Dion asks DL about his siblings, and DL opens up about his two sisters and a brother, how he got along with them, and even the funny dynamics growing up. There are some jokes about family tension, sibling rivalry, and just the everyday chaos that many of us can relate to, all told in DL's signature style. Then they dive into childhood mischief, and DL shares some of the things he did that his parents didn't know about. There's a lot of humor here, but you also start to see how his personality as a performer was shaped. DL talks about being disciplined as a child, switches, extension cords, and other punishments, and how strict his mother was. He tells stories about wearing turtlenecks in the summer and dealing with situations that were both strict and hilarious in hindsight. There's one story about a swimming class where he had to wear a sweater because the police were around, and you just have to laugh at the absurdity. These early experiences helped shape DL into the comedian and storyteller he became, and Dion really digs into these moments to bring them to life. DL also talks about losing his mother and the impact that had on him. He explains how he observed the pain around him and learned from it, even though it was hard. Dion and DL reflect on the permanence of losing someone close, and DL shares touching insights about his father and stepfather, including how his stepfather allowed his mother to discipline him in certain ways, which shaped DL's understanding of family and duty.
It's just my big brother, the great, the one and only Mr. D.L. Hughley.
What's up, baby boy?
Man, thank you so much, dog.
Yeah, 50 years later, I get invited to your house. It's so nice.
How are we?
Oh, really? You remind me that much? This the first time I'm over here, nigga? Okay.
I know, man.
They'll edit that part out, but...
But noted. No, play. I'm playing. How you doing, man?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Man, it's really nice to be here, man.
Man, thank you for having me, for being here, man, and getting down or whatever. You've been in this game for so long.
Yeah. When people pay to see you, I think you have to be worth their time and their money and their investment. And I think that's, to me, the pressure I feel every time somebody comes to see.
Yeah. Do you, when you're on stage, me personally, the joke that you're on, that you're saying at that time, are you thinking about 5 jokes that's on their way? Or are you thinking about, are you present into the joke at the moment? You get what I mean?
So if it's me, like when we were on stage together, right? So you know you got 30 minutes, right? So you edit things in your head, right? But if I am by myself, I'm playing the theater or a club and I know that I got time, I just take my time and let the audience take where it goes. But if I got to do a set for TV or a set for, it's time specific, then I'll do that. But the great thing about it is knowing you can. You got enough stuff in your inventory, you could, okay, all right, I can make a meal out of this. So yeah, I do it, it depends. It's more determinative of whatever circumstance we're in. If we, got to do 6 minutes or 20 minutes or 10, then I have to mess around with a lot of stuff in my head. But if I'm just out there, I just hang out.
When you first started, was your material what it is now?
No. I was, you can only see what you can only say what you see, and my world was so much smaller then. In my continuum of experience, I wasn't a father, I wasn't married, I hadn't, You know, I hadn't traveled. You know, I hadn't experienced loss. I hadn't experienced love to any degree. I hadn't known, you know, so many more things that I would come to know. So I think you are sum totally of your life's experience, and that was my experiences were so narrow, and my comedy had to be that way. But now I think it's broader because I live around people I've never lived with before. I've gone places I've never seen before. I've eaten things I never imagined I would. So all of that kind of comes up.
What about your political humor? Like, how did that come about?
I had always thought, I thought powerful people and the allure of power had always been funny to me or ironic to me. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a preacher, right? Like, I thought that's what I wanted to do. but yeah, right. Yeah, but I was, you know, 5, 6. But having, you know, people's attention, being on stage, using your voice, having a microphone, it's really kind of the same thing, it's just, except that my proscenium was different. But politically, I think that every single situation that has happened to, for, or with black people in this country has been at the behest of a political apparatus. Like, every freedom we enjoy, a political structure had to say it was so. Everything we didn't enjoy, a political structure had to say it was so. And that dynamic was always very funny to me. When the stakes are so high, it always was funny to me. And I think now that the last few presidents have been basically media stars, like Barack Obama was pop culture. Yeah. Donald Trump is pop culture. So now it's skewed the way we kind of absorb politics. So now I think it's easier to do, but I'd always been interested. I'd always thought it was interesting.
I mean, you definitely express your voice, I mean, to the fullest or whatever. You ever be nervous though? Like they gonna come after you or some stuff?
I mean, I think that in America, if a black man says anything they don't like, you could lose. Hank Aaron got death threats for just playing baseball and breaking a home run record. You could be, you know how many people in this country have died because they looked at somebody or said something or somebody said they said something. So I think that's a part of America. People wanting to do you harm because they don't like the way you make them feel is more American than apple pie. Violence is our calling card. So it's baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and slaughtering people who make you feel uncomfortable.
It's facts, but yeah, that's wild to even think like that. You think, I mean, to be like that, we live it, you know what I mean? But you think black people care too much about what white people think?
I think that, I think that we are, much like I told you about my dynamic with my parents and about how I reminded them of their I think we're like that for white people. I think we remind them of all the things. We're a living, breathing testament to their atrocities. And I think that whether we care, I think there are people that care too much, but I think that's a very young mindset. I bet you cared more about what people thought of you earlier, now. So I think that if you're younger and you haven't had many experiences and you kind of, going to a situation you've never seen before, obviously you would have a different perspective than if you've been, immersed in it and been around. But I think there are a lot of people who I think do things because they want to curry favor.
Yeah, I just think that we should do our own thing sometimes and not compare it or not do our version. And, you know what I mean? This always our version.
It's just like that, 7% with black people, yeah.
It's like,
I agree. There's so many stories to be told, so many things you could do. And I think that comes from culturally, I was doing this show called Studio 60 and Aaron Sorkin was doing it. And on the set, they were talking about Stairway to Heaven. And I was like, man, y'all know the OJs? And they're like, no, that's Led Zeppelin. I'm like, what? I never knew, and this 40-something, I never knew that Led Zeppelin I never knew it. And they didn't know the OJs because and we would have never had occasion to. And so I think most of us never are in close proximity to people. We live in our own echo chambers, we do our own things. I think most people, when you say that a neighborhood is diverse, it's one or two niggas, and that's it. That's the diversity we're gonna get. And most of us we don't have to live together. We work together, but that's transactional. You gotta be at this place. But very few things do we do in a way that's communal and in a way that forms a relationship. So I think that there would be, we're not comfortable because we don't necessarily know.
Yeah, I just think, like I said, I honestly think, I ain't saying we just do our own thing and we don't share with other people. I don't mean that. I mean, like, we do our own thing and then we share it with other people, you know what I mean? Like, we don't, like, keep it for ourselves. Just everybody share everything in a sense, but we have to, like, have our own, you know what I mean? Like, I honestly think this, too. I honestly think that we as a people, somebody do some harm to us, there's nobody to answer to.
All right.
But if you do something to any other race, you have to go talk to their council.
There's something gonna happen. Yeah, you like I remember. I forgot who it was.
No, Nick Cannon had to go
Nick,
talk.
His name is Nick Candlestein. He had to join that. That nigga had a bar mitzvah after that shit. They circumcised that nigga, right? He had to get circumcised after that. But I think you're right. I think that our story always starts in the middle, and our story always starts in the middle because we were something before we were here, and everybody counts us in like that whole phrase "black on black crime," and we've kind of co-opted it into our own lexicon, but. Crime is about proximity. If something happens to you, who they gonna look at first? The people who are around you. Mm-hmm. If something happens to a wife, they're gonna talk to the husband. Something happens to the husband, they're gonna talk to a wife. Mm-hmm. But they have led to believe that it is a moral failing on our part. Crime is about proximity. It's also about poverty. Mm-hmm. But they only talk about things that they know make us appear like the number. This is the number one sex offender, pedophile, and the convicted sex offenders in America. 80%, 76.5% are middle-aged white males. Middle-aged white males. There are more registered sex offenders in Texas than in California, by a lot. 10% of the nation's sex offenders live in Texas. 10% of them. It's enough to fill out Airhead Stadium, but you'll never hear them talk about that, but they'll tell you about black on black crime. Like, black people might say fuck them kids, but they do it. You know what I mean? So I think the more that you're aware of things, the more that you are, you're solid in your perspective of being an individual and not necessarily caring what people think. It's true. It's true. It is. It's true. It's true.
DL talks about compassion, understanding, and realizing later in life the challenges his mother faced raising children at a young age. This part of the interview really shows the deeper side of DL, and you'll want to stay tuned because these moments give context to his humor and resilience. Moving into school life, DL shares stories from elementary to high school that are full of humor, but also show his curiosity and intelligence. He talks about being tested in ways that most kids wouldn't even notice, and how these tests followed him for years. There's a funny story about not wanting to stand out in class, and you'll see how his natural instincts for observation and cleverness were forming even back then. High school brought more challenges, and DL talks about getting kicked out of multiple schools before finding a night school that suited him. The stories are chaotic, funny, and real, showing how DL navigated life with humor and determination. DL then opens up about early love and his first crushes, sharing stories that are both funny and relatable. He He talks about a girl named Wanda, his experiences with young love, and the crazy situations that came along with it. There are moments that will make you laugh, cringe, and feel nostalgic all at once. DL even shares stories about fights, growing up in tough neighborhoods, and how he handled the challenges around him with humor and clever thinking. Dion keeps the conversation flowing and makes sure every story lands with the right mix of laughter and insight. Work experiences also come up, and DL talks about his first job at McDonald's. He shares how proud he was of earning his first paycheck and the satisfaction of working hard and doing a good job, even as a young teenager. He tells stories about cleaning the lobby, interacting with customers, and how much joy he found in those small victories. These anecdotes show how his early work ethic and love of making people happy played a role in shaping the comedian he would become. DL's humor shines through in every story, from family quirks to childhood pranks, school struggles, first crushes, and first jobs. Dion Cole keeps the conversation engaging and ensures we see all sides of DL Hughley, the funny, the reflective, and the inspiring. DL talks about moments that shaped him, how he learned lessons without even realizing them, and how those experiences helped him in life and comedy. Every story is packed with insight, laughter, and authenticity. You don't want to miss a single one because there's always another gem coming up, and watching till the end gives you the full picture of DL's journey. This episode is more than just funny stories. It's a masterclass in storytelling, perseverance, and understanding life through comedy. DL Hughley shares the kind of life lessons that make you laugh while also making you think. Dion Cole does an amazing job guiding the conversation, keeping the energy high, and letting DL's personality shine through. From childhood chaos to professional achievements, the interview covers it all, and you'll walk away feeling entertained and inspired. So, make sure you stay with us till the very end. DL talks about his first love, his family dynamics, growing up in Los Angeles, and even the challenges that shaped him into the performer he is today. You'll hear the kind of behind-the-scenes stories that you can't find anywhere else. Dion Cole and DL Hughley bring warmth, humor, and honesty to every moment of this interview. There are lessons about duty, compassion, humor, and resilience sprinkled throughout, and they're shared in a way that feels personal and relatable. Whether it's dealing with strict parents, navigating school life, finding first jobs, or learning about first love, DL's stories are full of energy and insight. Dion's questions help bring out the depth and humor in every memory. You'll laugh, you'll relate, and you'll gain a deeper appreciation for what it takes to be one of the greatest comedians in the game. As the conversation wraps up, DL reflects on his journey, the challenges he faced, and how all of those experiences led to the comedian and person he is today. The episode is full of life lessons delivered in a funny and engaging way, showing that even through tough times, humor and determination can guide you forward. Dion Cole ensures that every story lands perfectly, keeping you hooked from the first word to the very last. By the end of this episode, you'll not only laugh at DL Hughley's incredible stories, but also gain insight into his life, his family, his early struggles, and the determination that brought him to where he is today. It's an inspiring and hilarious journey that reminds us why DL is one of the most respected names in comedy. Make sure you watch all the way through. You won't regret it, and there are moments that will stick with you long after the video ends. DL Hughley and Dion Cole create a dynamic duo of storytelling and humor in this episode. From the chaos of childhood, the lessons of strict parents, the antics in school, first loves, early jobs, and growing into a comedy legend, every paragraph of this conversation is packed with laughter, insight, and heart. Stay tuned, stay laughing, and watch the whole video to catch every single story and lesson that DL has to share.
DL Hughley dives even deeper into his childhood stories, sharing more of the funny and chaotic moments that shaped him. He recalls times when he and his friends would get into trouble just trying to have fun, like sneaking around the neighborhood or playing pranks on each other. Dion Cole laughs along, asking DL to share the most outrageous story he can remember, and DL talks about a time he and his friends managed to sneak into a local pool after hours, only to get chased by security. The way he tells it, it's like a scene from a comedy movie, the fear, the panic, the quick thinking, and yet he keeps the audience laughing throughout. He emphasizes how these moments of mischief taught him creativity, courage, and the ability to think on his feet, skills that would later be invaluable in his comedy career. You won't want to miss the rest because the stories only get wilder and funnier from here. He also shares stories about the people in his neighborhood who influenced him. DL talks about neighbors who acted like surrogate parents, mentors, or even comic foils, giving him lessons in life and humor. Deon Cole presses him on what made those people so memorable, and DL explains that it wasn't just their actions but the way they carried themselves and handled life's challenges with a mix of toughness and humor. This is a theme that runs through the entire episode. How DL learned to navigate the world through observation, resilience, and laughter. Every story reinforces the idea that comedy isn't just about telling jokes, it's about understanding people, situations, and the human condition, and DL does this brilliantly. The conversation shifts to DL's early attempts at performing. He talks about the first time he got on stage at a small club, the nerves, the awkward moments, and the thrill of hearing an audience laugh at something he created. Deon Cole asks him to break down that experience, and DL shares it with vivid detail, describing the stage, the crowd, the adrenaline, and the mistakes he made. He even laughs at himself for forgetting lines or messing up timing, and the audience gets a full view of his early learning curve. It's relatable, inspiring, and funny all at once, and it shows that even someone as successful as DL started with uncertainty, practice, and perseverance. Stick around because these early comedy stories lead to some of the funniest moments in the episode. DL doesn't shy away from talking about his family life either. He shares humorous anecdotes about his siblings, like playful rivalries, teasing, and the funny ways they interacted growing up. He talks about learning lessons from his older sister, competing with his younger brother, and the ways these dynamics influenced his sense of humor and personality. Deon Cole prompts him to share the moments that really stick out in his mind, and DL tells them with impeccable timing and a knack for detail that make every story come alive. Watching this, you start to see that the humor DL brings to the stage has deep roots in real-life experiences, funny, awkward, heartfelt, and unforgettable. The discussion moves to DL's early challenges in life, including growing up in a single-parent household and facing financial struggles. He explains how these experiences didn't just make him resilient, they made him observant, witty, and motivated to succeed. Deon Cole asks him to describe specific moments where he learned these lessons, and DL tells stories that range from hilarious misunderstandings to clever escapes from trouble. Each story comes with a punchline, but also a lesson about life, perseverance, and self-belief. This part of the episode is both funny and inspiring, showing viewers how DL's upbringing, while difficult at times, shaped him into the man and comedian he is today. DL also touches on his first experiences with romance, heartbreak, and the awkwardness of young love. He recounts stories about his first crushes, the funny ways he tried to impress girls, and the situations that left him embarrassed or laughing at himself later. Deon Cole guides him to share these personal moments in a way that's entertaining but also relatable, showing that everyone has those funny, awkward experiences growing up. DL's storytelling makes these moments come alive, with the drama, humor, and lessons intact, keeping viewers laughing and invested in every word. The conversation naturally flows into DL's teenage years, where he talks about the trouble he got into, fights he was involved in, and how he navigated peer pressure. He shares stories about getting into scuffles with neighborhood kids, run-ins with police, and the lessons he learned from each situation. Deon Cole reacts with laughter and amazement, and DL's humor makes even these tense or risky situations hilarious in hindsight. This part of the episode not only entertains but also gives insight into how DL developed his quick thinking, confidence, and ability to read a room, all crucial skills for a successful comedian. DL talks about the first jobs he ever had, starting with McDonald's, and how even these small jobs taught him life lessons. He explains how excited he was to earn his first paycheck, how he took pride in doing tasks well, and the funny interactions he had with customers and coworkers. Deon Cole encourages him to share the most memorable moments, and DL talks about getting tips from customers, messing up orders, and even the small victories that made him feel accomplished. These stories are humorous, nostalgic, and relatable, showing that even ordinary jobs can teach extraordinary lessons. The interview also explores DL's reflections on family, duty, and love. He shares heartfelt thoughts about his parents, his siblings, and the way he learned responsibility, compassion, and the value of commitment from them. Deon Cole asks him to dive into these reflections, and DL delivers with honesty and humor, making it clear that his humor is deeply rooted in real-life experiences and emotions. Each story is a mix of laughter and insight, encouraging viewers to think about their own experiences while enjoying DL's storytelling. DL's tales about growing up poor in Chicago are both shocking and funny. He talks about storing food on windowsills to keep it cold in the winter, and how that was just a normal part of life for him. Deon Cole reacts with amazement, and DL explains how these experiences shaped his perspective, teaching him creativity, adaptability, and the value of what he had. It's both funny and inspiring, showing that even in tough circumstances, humor and ingenuity can thrive. Stay tuned because the next part of the episode dives even deeper into his personal growth, career stories, and hilarious behind-the-scenes moments that you won't see anywhere else.